All right, we got some serious stuff to talk about today, but before that, we're going to play a little rock and roll. Give me some music. What's up, YouTube? It's this guy, Jeremy McDonald. Let me hear you say it. One of your very favorite people with Parkinson's. Of course, it's Jeremy, also known as J Mac, Jeremy Mac. Let's do this thing. All right, if you'd like to get a hold of me, my email address is jmacpodcaster. It's spelled Jaymac podcaster, gmail.com. I got a Patreon, patreon.com/Parkinson's with Jeremy Mac. Same name as the YouTube channel. There's some cool content over there. A lot of it's free. Go over and check it out. I'll put the link in the description. All right, this is kind of a weird one. It was in part inspired by Jennifer Sullivan's video about quitting her bartending job, so I'll also put that link in the description. It's a really good watch. You guys should check it out. Here's the deal. I had a dream last night. I don't put much stock in dreams. I think it's usually how we act out our wants and desires and fears and anxieties and things like that. But I had this dream that this guy that's long since passed, his name was Sidney. I used to work with him. Sidney was not a warm, friendly person, but I had a cordial relationship with him. In fact, I think it was one of the few people at this place that I used to work that could talk to him for more than just in passing, which got me in trouble a lot because people would say, don't talk to Sidney longer than, hello, how you doing, because it'll get weird. Well, it did get weird, but so we had this kind of strange relationship where he would come up and say something weird and I would just kind of let it go. And like he told me I was a wolf man because I had rage in my heart. And he used to work at a prison, used to be a cab driver. Anyway, I'm getting I'm getting all over the map here. So in my dream, Sidney came to me and said, basically, it was nice having worked with you. And this was not the Sidney. Sidney would never say anything like this. I don't think this was Sidney coming to me in a dream, although I guess it could have been, but I doubt it. He was like basically said, it was nice to having worked with you, and it was a pleasure to have known you. And this kind of version of Sidney that I don't think actually existed, but at least in my dream, he wasn't. It got me kind of thinking back to, like I said, Jennifer Sullivan's video about her bartending days being over. And I guess, what's Sinatra's song? My way goes, regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. Well, I've got some regrets, and I'm going to share them with you. Although, I feel like it's good to mention them. I think it helps me get off my chest. And regrets you can't do anything about, so I'm not trying to fix it, or I'm just trying to share how Parkinson's is kind of led me down a road I would rather not be on, honestly. For all my happy talk, I would rather not. I don't think I've ever told anybody that I'm happy having Parkinson's, but I struggle a lot, and I don't show it on this channel quite as much because I feel like I should need some privacy. But one of the big regrets I have is slinking out the back door with my tail between my legs when I can no longer do my job. It was one of them things where I probably never should have went back to the job after I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. It was 2013, January 2013. I made it to April or May-ish 2015. So almost a little over 2 years. And I got to tell you, the first 6 months or so weren't too bad, but the last year was just brutal. And I was hiding. I've said before, I was hiding how bad I was hurting. I was hiding how bad I was struggling. I was becoming antisocial, hanging out in the locker room, waiting to walk out to the car after everybody was gone. And people started to notice, but I don't think anybody had any clue just how much I was struggling, the pain that I was going through just to get through the day, just to walk in the building. And that's one of the things I really regret, is that I never got to take my victory lap. Of course, it wouldn't have been a victory lap. Victory lap is when when you retire and you go and I guess you say, wave to everybody, say it was nice working with you, or I guess flick them the finger and say, screw you, bub. There might have been a couple guys that would have wanted to do that too, but it just in karmic reasons, I probably wouldn't have done it. Now, the place I worked was a Teamster warehouse. It was not warm and fuzzy. Sidney was one of the more prickly characters, but it was full of prickly characters, and I got to tell you, I think I could have been one of them, especially when I didn't feel well. So this was not the kind of place that was like gonna, not the welcome wagon, but give you like an epic send off. Most people just came through on the golf cart and waved at everybody and said, "See you on the flip side" or something. I was so deeply ashamed, which is just terrible because I had nothing to do with getting Parkinson's. I was just so deeply ashamed of my illness and my weakness and my, as one of my coworkers said, kind of pissed me off. Said, "How's your palsy doing?" That kind of pissed me off. But once again, that was a life I chose. By the way, my record back there, right there. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. This place was not a yellow brick road, but any wish of keeping the camaraderie of that place when you weren't there was just not going to happen. I mean, I probably met face to face with 2 people out of the hundreds that I've worked with since I've left there. But I shouldn't have slunk out. But once again, I mean, I had one of my friends tell me, maybe you could come in. When they found out I wasn't coming back, they called me and said, maybe you could come in and give us one last story, because I was renowned for my stories, as you will, if you go over to patreon.com / Parkinson's with Jeremy Mack, there's currently a very lurid story up over there. It's funny as hell. It's free, by the way. That video is free. But I didn't have it in me to go in. I mean, I remember I came in, I got a doctor's note. And this video is probably going to be a little longer because I've just got so much on my mind, so much on my chest. Hope you guys hang with me. I went to my doctor, my MDS, my movement disorder specialist, and I told him, I said, I can't do my job anymore. I'm in pain. I'm falling down. I'm barely making it out to the car. So he gave me this note, said, Jeremy can no longer safely perform his duties. And I came in and I handed it to my boss. His name was Bill. I'll call him Bill W for any of my Schnooks friends who will know. Schnooks was the name of the company. And he looked at it and he said, "What's this?" I said, "I can't do it anymore." And he said, "Okay." And I just walked out. And I remember I had a real bad limp at that point, and I would have to like tense up my leg just to get it to move, and anything resembling a straight line, which of course has gotten worse and worse and worse, where I can't even walk now when I'm on my Cinemat. And I remember seeing one of my coworkers on the way out, and he was like, he could tell I was walking weird, but I had this way of like always, I would say something to divert their attention to my limp. So I was always trying to change the focus of the conversation away from me, and it was rough. I think I saw one other guy in the office who was just really, really rough, and I couldn't go back. I just could not go back in there, even if I could physically have limped in there. It was a long walk from the parking lot to the meat dock, as we call it, or the produce dock. Now, let me just paint a picture for you here, if you will allow me to. I work with some rough dudes. My wife said when she would come pick me up at work sometimes, when we were first married, we only had one car, she would say, "You guys look mean." She's like, you got all different races. You got everybody sweaty or has some manner of dirty clothes on. You're all looking like you're scowling. Half of you are limping. It looks like a pirate ship got out on dock or whatever. It's unloading. And I was like, hells yeah, I love that thing, and I was part of that group. And little did everybody know that I was a huge ball of insecurity. This was before Parkinson's, and I hid it. When I first started working there, I didn't talk to anybody. My dad, who got me the job, said, "Just don't talk to anybody, you'll be fine," which I did. But then, as I got more and more comfortable and began to have a place, I knew my place in the pecking order, so to speak, I would tease guys, or we'd have a laugh together, and I started to feel like part of the group, part of the pack, as the cool kids say. I found my squad. Now, we very rarely ever saw each other outside of work, so it wasn't like we were bosom buddies. In fact, like I said, I got calls from maybe 2 or 3 people after I quit. So I just disappeared. People were like, "Well, okay, next, whoever's up next in line." That's one of my big regrets, and I don't think there's any other way I could have done anything differently. One of my other regrets is not being able to do a lot of things with my son, but then again, I have to look at the flip side. I get to spend a lot more time with him than most dads, but it's just like, I regret that my wife has to do so much things. I barely drive anymore. Driving and me just don't go anymore. I regret that I have a classic 81 Lincoln Continental that I can't get out of the garage because the brakes are sketchy, and even my wife, I mean, yeah, I gotta get the brakes fixed, but I can't get out enough to get to a mechanic, and you gotta find a mechanic that'll work on an 81 Lincoln. There's a lot of things, but yeah, that dream with Sydney last night just really shook me, and I was like, I guess that was my subconscious telling me, giving myself the pat on the back or the reward of like having somebody have told me, somebody telling me, sorry, I can't speak right now, that I did a good job and that I meant something to him, and it was, it was a salt mine of a place to work, but that I was missed and I was remembered. And that's one of the things I try to do in the months before I quit. I tried to, when I felt good, I tried to be memorable. I didn't want to be forgotten, so I would do ridiculous things. I did this before Parkinson's as well. I didn't want to be forgotten, and that's one of my deepest, most like held close insecurities, is being forgotten. I mean, ultimately everybody will be forgotten. Maybe that's why I fill my basement with all kinds of memorabilia and act the way I do, because I don't want to be forgotten. And like I said, this place was never going to give you an attaboy. If you did a good job, they didn't say anything. If you did a bad job, they screamed at you. It was like, and it wasn't the bosses. Your fellow Teamsters would take the starch out of you. So I don't want to paint an over rosy picture, but it's just like, God, I wish I could have done things differently. I mean, it's the shame. The shame I will never get over, hanging my head in shame, walking out. I mean, as soon as I got in the car, I just went numb after I turned in my paperwork. I had a couple people call me, and I with my boss, I couldn't even pick up the phone. I think my one boss called me. I don't even think I picked up the phone. If I did, I said, I'm not coming back. And I remember when I called my building manager, who was at the time going through some serious health issues himself. His name was Steve S. I'll just say that. And I called, and me and Steve he fired me years previous. So I did not actually have the best relationship with Steve while I worked there. Until the end, until the last few years I knew him. And I called, and I could hear him choke up. I said, I can't come back. I can't do it anymore. Just, life happens, people. There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can change after it happens. You just got to keep living and keep the regrets to a minimum. But this really got under my skin. This is one of the most personal things I've ever talked about on this channel, is quitting my job. That's all I got. If you want to listen to somebody else's perspective, maybe a little more happy than mine, I'll put a link to Jennifer Sullivan's video. I think it's something like My Bartending Days Are Over. It's a really good video. So tell me, folks, have you have any regrets as far as your employment or anything like that, as far as your Parkinson's? I gotta tell you that Sydney coming to me in my dream really got to me. It was like, I know it wasn't real. At least I don't think it was real. But man, I miss having a place at work. I miss being able to go to work. Now, I hated the job, but I enjoyed the people. We had some good fun. So just leave me your comments. Any regrets you guys have? Anything that really sticks in your craw about your journey? Maybe you quit a job, or maybe a relationship ended because of Parkinson's. Let me know in the comments. Remember, email me, jmac@podcastgmail.com, and then patreon.com, Parkinson's with Jeremy Mack. Until next time, peace and love from my toy-filled bunker somewhere underneath the city of St. Louis.